Hey y'all, it's Alicia and welcome back to Alicia's Crafty Hoplop. If you're new here, this is going to be a great day for you to land in the Hoplop because I'm bringing you my design team project for your creative studio. And to my returning folks, you're going to be wowed because y'all know it usually takes me a month to make a Happy Mail swap. And for this project, for your creative studio, I decided to do a full-on Happy Mail package. Now, again, keeping in mind that I'm limited to envelopes, I still managed to create in 3 days because I was so inspired. And even with my teaching schedule, I managed to create a full-on Happy Mail package using the items in this month's box. So without further ado, let me take you through them. I want to share with you, first of all, that the only paper I used besides the paper that was provided to me was some paper from the Die Cuts with a View pressed paper stack. And that's just because I needed some extra paper to make envelopes. And so I just wanted you to know that that's the paper pad I used. I love this paper pad. It's fabulous. It does both sort of vintage and florals. And because this month's theme was botanicals, vintage florals, this was like the ideal paper pad to pair with it. Now, I just want to remind you that in each box, every month in a subscription box, you get 2 stamps. I told you we got a botanical stamp this month, and we got a frame stamp this month. And I always tell you guys, like, I test them out, I season them, and then I tell you what I think. But you know, I thought this time I'd actually show you. You know why, folks? I like it. It's not that I don't take your word for things, but what I may think is solid enough, you may not, or vice versa. So I always think it's better to show you. So let's start with the botanical stamp. So the very first time, no seasoning, very first stamping, that was the first one. Look at it, perfect. That was on the first stamp ever. So no seasoning, no nothing, just inked up with a Distress Oxide photo and trusted it out. Number 2, perfect. So again, I did it a third time just to see. This stamp, like the last one in the last box, stamped perfectly from the first stamp onward. I gotta tell you all, that's rare. Many of my stamps I have to season up for like a week before they work well. So I am thrilled that this box, each and every month, gives me at least 1 stamp, if not 2, that work perfectly. This month it was 2. Look, folks, first stamping, perfect. Second stamping, perfect. Again, I'm just amazed. And I just used vintage photo, distressed vintage photo from Tim Holtz. Nothing fancy, not Versa ink. Unbelievable. So both these stamps, which you're going to see throughout the project, worked well from the first stamp. And again, I'm going to tell you that's unusual. I also will tell you, look how well they cleaned up. And I don't use fancy stamp cleaner, guys. I use Huggies. I keep these around and that's what I use. And you don't need to use any fancy. I know Carmen got me a Stampy cloth for cleaning, but the truth is the wet wipes work really well on a lot of good quality stamps, these included. All right, so without further ado, now that you know that the stamps worked expertly from the first stamp onward, let me show you what I made. Well, the first thing I made were these 2 embellishments. And I knew I wanted to make 2, and I knew I wanted to make circle ones that the recipient of this will, be able to use on all different projects, either on bag toppers or if she's making a loaded envelope, whatever a card. I wanted her to have flexibility. So on the first one, I'll tell you what I used. I used a ton from this collection. So I did use some of the dried flowers poking through, which I loved. I used the ticket that was enclosed. Remember, I received that whole stack of tickets, y'all, over like 100 tickets in this pack, right? So I'll remind you what they look like. So they came with a ticket and a frame. So I just fussy cut out the ticket, and I propped that up on some of my tea stained paper just to give it a little texture and heft, and I distress stained it. I also put a cut apart from that pressed paper pad behind. These flowers are from Birdie, Little Birdie, and this is the package, and I use these a lot in this Happy Mail. So there you have them, and they've been all distressed. Now, I did put a little craft twinkles on them. I will tell you that they're only mildly sparkly because when I do vintage, I don't like things to sparkle too much. That's just my aesthetic. So when the recipient gets this, they will be able to see a little sparkle, but you might not be able to see it on my camera because it's very subtle. Okay, so behind here, behind the ticket and behind the cut apart from the paper pad are not only the dried flowers, But folks, I am crazy about these acetate stickers. I use them pretty much everywhere. I'm in love with them. And when you lay these down, they lay down transparent. So they let all the color poke from behind. So I love them. So I use some of that behind there. I did attach 2 little gold sequins just because amongst the beautiful dried flowers, because I wanted it to be a focal point. And I did use one of Rare Rue Crafts' beautiful pink vintage flowers because they're stunning. And although you won't be able to see on my camera, I did use both a little gold stickling and a little gold pearl drops from Nuevo Drops on the first one. So that's the first one. And then the second one, I did a heart scallop cut apart. These are double layered up. They're not triple like my usual, but they are still very sturdy. And that's just because this is flat mail and I don't want to make everything super heavy, but they are doubled up. Here I have a cut apart. Again, behind, you won't be able to tell, I have a ton of these amazing acetate sprigs from the box. I have 3 of the flowers that Rare Root Crafts made, which were beautiful. I did also craft twinkle this one up and distress stain it. So even though on the camera I'm not sure you can tell, they are distress stained. And then I just used one of the little Tim Holtz people. And that is it for embellishment number 2. And I decided to put them on a layaway tag that the recipient of this Happy Meal can reuse. So those are the embellishments. And then I made 2 tags. Now, at first I wanted to make the tags where I didn't want to personalize them too much because I wanted the recipient to add whatever she wanted. But I couldn't help myself, folks. I just started making and I went a bit crazy because I loved it. So clearly I've used the new seam binding that I got from My Scrap Porch. I love that distress seam binding. Love, love. And on this one, you'll see that there's tons of those acetate pieces poking out all throughout. These are one of those amazing doilies that came in the whole collection. Let me show you what that looked like. They are amazing. They're one of my favorite pieces in the whole box. And I am so grateful that we get so many of them. But folks, this is what they look like. I adore these. Again, they lay down like rice paper, so you get a little peek through, which is what I love. And then I did a cut apart from the pressed paper pad to give a little bit of consistency and cohesion throughout the collection. There's one of those acetate pieces laid on top, so pretty. These ones that I'm obsessing over, and that they were over 40 in the box. Oh my goodness, I love them so much. I wish there'd been 100 of them. I love them. Behind here is some lace, then a little Tim Holtz double ladies, more of those little birdie flowers, one of Rare Root Crafts flowers, and then a few more flowers clustered up here. And of course, everything was stained, both front and back, y'all. I always stain the back just like I stain the front because I think you should, just because people turn over tags. And I just noticed a little glue on the back there. So I always do the back just like I do the front. And that is tag 1. Tag 2 is a little more simple because I was trying to think like I wanted the person to actually be able to add her own sentiment. And I didn't want to take, in case she wanted to add to this, I wanted her to be able to do that. So this has lace going up the side, the little birdie flower distressed, one of the tickets again from this collection, from the box. Behind here I have one of those incredible vellum pieces. Oh, so beautiful, y'all, to work with. And over here I have another one of those beautiful pieces that came in the box. It's like that doily, but it's a different one. Then there's that stamp I was telling y'all about, the botanical one. And that is, oh, and of course the Tim Holtz person, and this is a little girl. And a little bit more of that seam binding. And again, distress stained front and back. And that is tag 2. Well, let's go on to our next item, which is the first of 2 envelopes that I made. And you'll see that what I did was I took a doily and I distress stained it. It was bright white, and I collage mediumed it and distress stained it. And it folds half on this side and half underneath this whole menagerie. This has a lot going on, so I'm just going to explain it to you. This is coffee stained paper. On there I have overlaid so many of those beautiful dried flowers. As you can see, I've tucked in the tickets that came with the collection back here. I've also got like another ticket coming out the bottom. It's really quite layered up. I've got pieces of the acetate and the vellum poking out. And then this is a piece of the paper pad cut out with some distressed coffee paper, and then just the sentiment that says grow. There you go. You can see it grow. And I did put a, even though this is a small envelope, I did put a Velcro closure for it. And in here, I have tucked for the recipient. You're going to see that what I've sent the recipient is enough from everything to make one of these Happy Mails for somebody. So in here is the lace that I used and the seam binding I used. So that's the goodie that is tucked into this envelope. And that is envelope number 1. Isn't it beautiful? Oh, so beautiful. Okay, envelope number 2. Y'all ready? Because you know I had to make one shaker. You knew I had to make at least one. And this is quite a shaker mix, let me tell you. It's got, I mean, I took advantage of my new sequins. It's got green, gold, it's got all 5 shades of pink, it's got little iridescent stars. I'm in love with this sequins mix, I am. It's all the colors that I used in this Happy Mail. And then down here I have another of those 2 beautiful flowers made by Rare Root Crafts, actually 3 of them. I have one of these, which is actually an Elsa flower, an Elsa Cleary flower. It's one of my last ones left. I have some of the dried flowers poking through. I have the Tim Holtz character. Back here I have some coffee stain paper that I've distress stained. And again, on this I've put a little Velcro closure. And in this one are those doilies that I have distress stained and used throughout, so that the recipient has them. And notice I've got pull strings on everything with baker's twine. That's my super thin baker's twine that's very old-fashioned looking. I'm almost out of it actually because I've done so much vintage crafting lately. And that is envelope number 2. Now we're on to the good stuff. This is the flat mail folder. And this is just a piece of lace that I'm using to keep it closed. It actually stays closed on its own. I didn't actually need to build in a closure. I really just wanted to gift the recipient more of this and it looked cute, so why not? This is a flat mailer, and this was actually quite dynamic. I used both the seed paper given to me in the subscription box. I also used a piece of paper that I loved. It has this kind of print on it, and that came from that beautiful paper pad from Die Cuts with a View. And it matched perfectly with everything in this box. So this is a little dynamic. I've got lace going up the side. I have distress stained one of those doilies that I did on the other one. This one is more actually both collage mediumed and distress stained it. Then I did a cut apart that matches from the collection. And then in this centerpiece, which is a focal point, is a cut apart and then one of these amazing acetate stickers again. And you see what I mean on how when they're laid down over paper, they just come alive. They're magical. They're so magical. I want another pack of them. I'm in love. And then I layered over some tulle to give it a little, just a little sparkle. For the headline that says Bloom, as you can see, I did a cut apart from the paper pad. I distress stained some coffee paper, and then I put the Bloom sentiment. The back is also all distress stained, as you can see. I will tell you, I always point out when I make a little foo-fa, y'all, and my foo-fa was with my chomper. It was. I had a little chomper incident yesterday, and I was none too pleased. I was able to salvage it, but I was none too pleased. And I always show you when I have a little foo-fa. So you see, even when you're practiced at something, it's easy to make a mistake. And I have to tell you, I just wasn't paying enough attention. And because I had layered this up so it was pretty sturdy, the chomper was giving me a hard time. And I should have been more careful, which is why there isn't quite enough white space here on the corners. Just letting you know. I always let you know when I run into a problem. This is the flat mailer, pretty simple, unadorned, and that's because I'm thinking the recipient might want to reuse this. And therefore, I've sent her the goodies in which to decorate this and send this off to someone else. That's my idea behind it. Tucked in here are all sorts of goodies, all made with items from the collection, and I'll show you. So remember in there, I'll pull them out so you can see the first 2. If you all recall, in the same package as those doilies, which I'll show you, were these cute little tags. So I just took them and I attached them to a thicker craft paper, and they're like rice paper. They lay down so beautifully and attach coordinating seam binding. There's the other one, y'all. Very, very pretty. So there's 2 tags in there. Now, they sent a ton, so, you know, there's probably enough to make, I don't know, 12 tags with the amount they sent. but I just wanted to make the recipient too, because I do gift her the materials for making, so I just want her to see. So I'll show you now. I did make pull strings just so you can see. I made pull strings so that the recipient can just pull these out easily. And there are all those tags and the doilies as goodies tucked in there. And then next to that, I made these little presents, and I'm going to show y'all. Okay, so these are these little tiny envelopes that I made, and I wanted it to look like a present, so I gift wrapped it using that little thin baker's twine. And then out of thicker baker's twine, I just made these old-fashioned baker's twine bows. And it's just so that it's, and here are some little die cuts for her that coordinate with this. So I just wanted to tuck those in as little presents. That's on one side. And then on the other side, when you pull out, I die cut out for her some tickets. And then I also put in tickets from the collection, from the subscription box, and the frames for her to use. And I just tied these together with the little baker's twine. And there are the goodies. And then again, tucked in there is another little present. And in here are those acetate amazing stickers that I'm so in love with that came in the box. There's a whole bunch of them in here. And I wanted this to look like an old-fashioned parcel, just because the aesthetic of the whole subscription box. So I made this out of the die cuts with a view, these little teeny little envelopes, and wrapped them up like an old-fashioned gift. And they tuck in there just like that. And that, folks, is the flat mailer. So I made a flat mailer, 2 embellishments, 1 shaker envelope, and 1 vintagey envelope, and 2 layaway tags for the recipient to either use or gift or keep or do whatever she would like to do, and a ton of little goodies. And that, folks, is my design team project for May 2020 for your creative studio. I have to tell y'all, I had so much fun making this, and now, having done it, I can tell you something. This box, if you're careful while you're making with it, can make a total of 6 Happy Mail packages just like the one I showed you. It's important to me. I always like things, I like to be upfront with you and tell you, is this a good investment? Is this a worthwhile buy? I can make 6 of these Happy Mails, just exactly like I just showed you. 6, using the items given to me in this box from 1 subscription box. And I think that's amazing. But I think I'd like to do a little hidden giveaway. Because this month they really gifted me so many beautiful supplies that I would like to give away one of these Happy Mail boxes, or one of these really Happy Mail envelopes. Now, it may not be exactly the same because this one was created for a specific subscriber, but it'll be very similar. And all you have to do is tell me, what is the theme of next month's Your Subscription box? What's the theme, y'all? I am going to put their website down below. It's pretty easy to find. All you have to do is let me know, without being too obvious, what the theme is for the next month's box. And I will put you into a draw. And then on Sunday, I'm going to draw out a winner. And I'm going to make you one of these Happy Meal and send them off to you. All right, y'all. Thanks so much for watching. This was so much fun to make with. If you have any questions at all about any of these products, or how I made them, or any of the techniques I used, or questions about the box, please feel free to leave them down below and I will make sure to answer those questions. I know that many of you told me that the box sold out again already, and I know that they sell it very quickly. And again, that's just because Amanda hand curates each and every box. But as far as I know, there are boxes for June available. So if you love what your creative studio has been doing lately and all of these project shares, make sure to order your June box now before it's gone. All right, y'all. I'll put the links for your creative studio down below. Don't forget to participate in the hidden giveaway. What's next month's theme, y'all? What's next month's theme? All right. Thanks so much, and I'll see y'all later. Bye for now.